Hello and welcome to AutoCAD for beginners. I'm fairly bad at introductions, so let's just jump to the video. In the screen you can see this is the first screen that you're going to see when you open the AutoCAD application. This black gridded area is called the workspace. On top of this you can see that there are various icons over here. Presently the home panel is on. Just below this you can see this is a white box. This is called the command box, and just below this over here where you can see several icons, model layout 1, layout 2, this is called the status bar. So my version is AutoCAD 2022. You may be using different versions, and let me just tell you, it does not matter, because new versions, they only have new layouts or new features. The basic things, they're just going to remain the same. For example, to use anything in AutoCAD, to start basically any command in AutoCAD, you just enter that command by typing it into the keyboard. For example, I just want to open options. I'll just type in options. So my options have opened over here. So basically all the commands that are entered are used by typing it into the command line. So the next thing I'm going to be teaching you is how to move around and navigate in AutoCAD. I know it's appearing to be a little bit complex, and it's fairly very usual for people to just get very scared seeing the AutoCAD screen for the first time. It seems that as though you're doing something very complex and something very advanced, but let me tell you, according to my own personal experience, AutoCAD I feel is just a little advanced form of Paint. If you've used Paint before, I think AutoCAD is just that, with a bit of specificity and advancement. I'm not mocking AutoCAD people, it's just the way I think. So if you want to, for example, if you want to learn what any of the icon does, for example, if I just hover over any icon, for example stretch over here, it just opens the small box over which you can see that it's giving a small description of stretch. Stretch is objects crossed by a selection window or polygon. That's what stretch does. So you can know about any icon by just hovering over it, and you can basically learn AutoCAD this way. Now I'll be teaching you how to move around your workspace. For that, I just need to create an object on the screen. I would just create an object, a small rectangle. Don't worry, I'll teach you these different drawing commands later in the AutoCAD video. For now, I just drew this rectangle. As you can see, I'm not teaching you anything, and I'm just moving my mouse. I'm just moving around the AutoCAD window by myself. Don't worry, I'll just teach you. To zoom in your object, you just scroll up, and wherever you want to zoom, for example, I want to zoom towards this point, I'm going to place my cursor over here and I'm going to zoom in. So it's going to zoom into that particular point. If I want to zoom in here, I'm going to place my cursor and zoom in here. So that's how easily you zoom into AutoCAD files. But if you just want to move around the workspace, if you just want to pick this up and put it here, like, I don't know, I'll show you. I think if I just show you, you'd understand better. You just click on the mouse wheel and you see how the pointer just changed to a hand, and you move the mouse around. So that's what it does. If you remember, if you have worked with Google Maps, the moving around and going around the workspace is pretty much similar to that of Google Maps. So if you have used Google Maps, you may be very familiar with it. The next thing I want to show you is the mouse pointer. I'm sorry I didn't discuss this earlier, but the mouse pointer, as you can see, consists of a square with 4 lines in it. So a line upward, a downward, left side and right side. This is the icon for, this is the cursor for mouse when no command is active on it. But for example, if I just activate any command, if I go over here and press on line, you see the command line is activated and the shape of my crosshair has just changed. To escape the command, to close the command, I just press on escape once. Now I'm going to tell you the different clicks, the meaning of the different mouse clicks in the AutoCAD. For example, if I just clicked on the right hand side, this is the option that has appeared. This is a drop down menu that has appeared over here. In this there are various options. I'm going to explain these options a bit later. For now I'm just telling you that when you right click, different options are going to appear on your workspace. If I left click, this shape of the crosshair has changed again. It's 4 lines intersecting each other with a small box and a green dot in the top right side of the cursor. This is basically the icon for selection. So if I just move the mouse now towards the right hand side, you can see that a solid blue box has appeared, and if I move it to the left hand side, a dotted green box has appeared. So these two different boxes, they denote different types of selection. I'll just show you what they do. Now if I select this box using the blue solid selection, for that I just have to click towards the left hand side of the object and drag it towards the right. You can see it's not selecting these particular lines, and that's because these lines, they constitute they don't represent different objects. The whole rectangle is considered as one singular object. So to select this rectangle, I'm going to have to encapture it into this blue box. If I put the whole rectangle in the blue box, the whole rectangle is going to get a bit highlighted, and if I click on it like this, it's going to get selected. Now I'm just going to press escape, and now I'm going to click on the right hand side of this object and drag it to the left hand side. With this green dotted selection, whatever comes inside this, for example any part of the rectangle that comes inside this green selection, it's going to get selected. We don't need to select the whole rectangle, only selecting a part of it does the job. So these are the two different selection types that are used in AutoCAD. I think selection is pretty important while you're working in AutoCAD files. So it's very important that you get the selections straight in your head. Now I'm going to teach you about the line tool. Line tool is basically one tool that you'll be using a lot repeatedly in your file because it's the most used tool in AutoCAD. So let's just begin using the line tool. There are two ways basically to enter any command in AutoCAD. One, you can just type in the command using keyboard. Second, you can go towards that icon of the command and select it from there, just like using Paint. So if I want to activate the line tool, I go to the home panel here in the draw section and select on line. Now you can see over here my cursor has changed to two lines intersecting each other at 90 degrees. Just below that you can see that the command bar, it's written line over here. This command bar basically represents whatever command that has been activated in the screen. So presently the line command is activated. It's asking me to specify the first point here. Over here it's written specify first point, and just below the cursor also it's written specify first point. So I'll just click anywhere in the screen like this, and you see a line is coming out of that first point. Now it's asking me to specify the next point, say over here. You can continue making lines using the line command, but for now I'm just going to press escape. That ends the command. Now we have drawn a line over here, but as you can see, it has no specific dimension or direction. For now, I'm going to teach you how to draw a line with a specific direction and dimension. I'm just going to move the workspace a little down to create more space, and I just click on the command line. Now it's asking me to specify the first point again. I don't have a place where I'll start the line, so I'll just pick a point randomly, for example here, and just above it you can see a dimension is written 1617.5458. This is the dimension of this line presently. Now the mouse pointer moved, the dimension changed, but just below the cursor you can see it's written 0 degrees, and beside it it's written polar 1607.0081. that is the dimension, and in front of it it's written 0 degrees. So just over here you can see that there is a dotted green line appearing also. This happens when the polar mode is on. I'll tell you what the polar mode is. It helps you draw horizontal, vertical lines, basically lines in particular angles. It helps you draw lines in particular angles. I'll explain you more about the polar mode later. For now, I'm just going to use this mode to draw a horizontal line of dimensions, say 2000. So I'm going to just leave the mouse pointer over here. I'm going to type in 2000 and I'm just going to press enter. Now if I move the cursor, you can see that a line of specific dimension 2000 has appeared over here. Now if you want to make another line starting from here of say dimension 1000, but you want to specify an angle to it, say you want the angle to be 20 degrees, I'll teach you how to do that. Say you want to enter a line of 500 units. I'll just type in 500, and instead of pressing enter, now I'll press tab. It will be to specify the angle. You can see that in front of the 500 over here a lock has appeared, so we have locked the dimension to 500, and now we can specify the angle, which is 25 degrees, and I just press enter. If I press escape and end the line command, you can see that we have two lines. One is of dimension, I forgot what dimension we specified for this line, and other is of dimension 500 and angle 25 degrees. So that's how you can make lines with specific dimension and direction. Now if you want to delete these lines, it's fairly simple. You just select this using the selection tool and just click on delete. You can press delete on your keyboard basically. Now we have deleted the objects. It's as simple as that. If you think you made a mistake, don't worry, you just press Ctrl+Z and the lines have appeared. Now if you see that I had to press Ctrl+Z 2 times, that is because after deleting these two objects, I used the move command. I moved around in my workspace. So while moving around in your workspace, AutoCAD considers that a command too. For example, if I just move in my workspace over here and I press Ctrl+C, it's gonna move me back. So the move command, moving around in AutoCAD, it's also considered a command. That's why I had to press Ctrl+Z a total of 2 times. Now coming back to the polar mode, what is the polar mode. Over here you can see this is the icon for polar mode. In the above it is written polar tracking F10. F10 is basically the keyboard shortcut for activating the polar mode. Just beside this is a small arrow. If you click this, you can see 45, 90, 135 and 180. Basically multiples of 45, they have been checked over here. What does this mean? I'll tell you. I'll just draw a line over here. I click on any point and I move the cursor around. The green dotted line is appearing at 0 degrees, 45 degrees, 90 degrees, 135 degrees. So basically it is helping me to make my drawing in certain angles. That's what it is doing. So I hope you understood what the different angles, the different numbers in polar mode mean. So you can change these angles. Suppose you want to work in 30, 60 angles, you can check this, or you can, as you go down the list, the size of the angles, they just decrease. It's as simple as that. The second thing is ortho mode. One is polar mode, the second is ortho mode. Ortho mode is this particular icon. If I select this, the polar mode goes off. And the reason for that is ortho mode is used specifically to make lines or objects at 90 degrees. It's only used to make horizontal and vertical objects. For example, if I just enter the line command again and I click anywhere on the screen and move my cursor around, the line is coming out only to be horizontal or vertical. So ortho mode is a bit stricter version. It's a bit strict from the polar mode. It only allows you to draw the lines in 90 degrees, whereas polar mode helps you draw the lines in 90 degrees and 180 degrees, but it's not that strict. So I'm just going to go back and select polar mode. By the way, you can use ortho mode and save a lot of time if you're just working on vertical and horizontal lines. The next thing that I'm going to be teaching you is units. As I just entered these lines, as I just made these lines by entering some units, you didn't know what these units were: millimeters, feet, inches, whatever. I'm going to tell you how to edit units. Now before that, let me just make it very, very clear that whenever you make an AutoCAD drawing, just try to make it at a scale of 1:1. You only have to scale it while plotting it. You can scale the drawing while you plot it. Basically that is because you can avoid any confusion while making an AutoCAD drawing. Don't worry, the workspace of the AutoCAD is large enough. It can accommodate projects as big as the earth. So of course that's going to be heavy, but let me just tell you that you should just make your drawings in the scale of 1:1. Now let me just teach you how to change the units, how to set the units in your AutoCAD. For that, you just type in units and press enter. This dialog box appears in your AutoCAD screen, which is titled as drawing units. Over here you can see there's a box called length. Over here it's written type. If you click this, you can see that there are various types of units: architectural units, decimal units, engineering units, fractional units and scientific units. I prefer decimal units. You can change the precision of the line over here. For example, if I just want it 110 after the point, I'll click it over here. Now you can see the units to scale the inserted content. If you select this, you can have it unitless, inches, feet, and you can have these various different options over here. I'm just going to enter millimeters and I'm just going to press OK. So that's how basically you enter units. Now, while working in millimeters, the basic problem that arises is when you're making a very huge, a very huge line. For example, if I just select this and delete this, and I want to make a line of length 100,000 units. Let me just make it 100,000 units. Now, you can see the workspace has become too small for a big line like this. Now, one option is that you just zoom out to see the whole line, which is a very tedious process. So, the other option is you just enter zoom, enter, and you enter A for all. Now you can see the whole line has come inside the workspace. So that's how easy it is to operate AutoCAD. I'm just going to select this and delete it for now. Now I'm going to teach you other drawing tools. As a beginner, I'm only going to teach you some of the drawing tools over here. For example, I'm going to be teaching you polyline, circle, arc, rectangle. So these are the three drawing tools that I'm going to be teaching you. The first is polyline. Polyline is basically a group of lines that are all connected to each other. You can select this, and polyline command, or as it's written, p-line command, has been activated here. You can specify a start point, and let me just make a random figure like this here. Now say I want to close this, polyline. You can just enter C, L and press enter. It just closes the polyline on its own. And if you select this, it's basically considered as one singular object that you created. The second command is rectangle. You can either enter the command via keyboard, REC enter, or you can select the command rectangle from here. If I just select the first corner of the rectangle and say I want to make a rectangle of dimension 2000 on the x-axis and 3000 on the y-axis. So over here you can see the text that is highlighted in blue is 773.4. It is the dimension coming in the x-axis. So to change this dimension, I'm just going to press 2000 in the x-axis. Now to change the dimension in the y-axis, I'm just going to have to press tab, and I'll just enter a dimension of 3000 and I press enter. Now you can see that this rectangle has appeared with the x dimension of 2000 and the y dimension of 3000. If you don't think that you've gotten it right, you can just measure this line using the tape measure tool. You can use the dimension tool over here and click on this point and this point. You can zoom in and see the dimension is 2000. To enter the y segment dimension, you can just enter this and zoom in to see the dimension to be 3000. Don't worry, I am going to be telling you how to insert dimension lines properly in further videos. So this is the rectangle over here. The next command is the circle. For circle, it's asking me to specify a center point. and if I just move out, I can specify the radius. For example, I want the radius to be 1000 units, and over here we have a circle with the radius 1000. Select this and delete it. You can make the circle using different types. For example, you can make the circle while selecting the center and diameter. You can make circle using selecting 2 points, 3 points, tangents, radius. You can try all of these options by yourself. It's very interesting to do it. It's not much technical, but it's going to be a good learning experience for you if you just try to do these circles, if you just try making these circles using these different methods. The next thing is arc. It's asking me to specify the start point of the arc, it's asking me to specify the second point of the arc, and it's asking me to specify the end point of the arc. There. If you want to make an arc in different ways, you can just select this drop down menu and you have these different types of arcs over here. You can experiment with each type and let me know how it goes. So the third thing that I'm going to be teaching you about is the object snap. Object snap is a fairly important tool in AutoCAD. For example, let me just draw a rectangle, an arc, and if you see that if I just want to draw a line from here, this green square is appearing over here, and if I just hover my mouse over to somewhere to the center of this line, a triangle is appearing over here towards the midpoint of this. This particular arrow has also been coming up. So what are these different things that are appearing over here? As you can see, the arc just appeared. This dotted arc is also appearing over here like this. So what are these basically? This is basically happening because of object snap. To see the object snap, you can see that there's the small icon over here. You can press this arrow and you can open object snap settings. You can see that there are various options selected over here. For example, endpoint. In front of the endpoint, it's a symbol of square. That's why when we are going over here, a symbol of square was appearing. That was marking the endpoint of this particular line or the endpoint of this arc. Midpoint is denoted by triangle, center by a circle, geometric center also by a circle, intersection by a cross, extension by a dotted line, nearest by an hourglass type of shape, perpendicular by obviously the sign of perpendicular, parallel by this. So what are these basically? Object snap. Object snap is a pretty useful tool to make your drawings. For example, if I just put the object snap off and I try to make a line starting from this point, no matter how hard I try, I zoom in, no matter how hard I try, there's going to be a distance between this point and that point because AutoCAD is not taking the exact point because the object snap is off. Now if I put the object snap to on and I make the line, it's snapping itself to that point automatically. That helps us making the different lines from this particular point with ease. Now I'm going to be telling you the different types of object snaps that are in there. First, I taught you about the endpoint already. I'm going to be teaching you about midpoint. Midpoint is basically this triangle. You can use it. Midpoint can be in a line or also in an arc or in a circle, anything. Midpoint can be a midpoint of anything. Center for this arc is here. Center can be for circles, ellipses and parabolas, or basically any curved objects can have centers. The next is intersection. For example, if I just draw a line over here and just hover my mouse over here, so you can see this cross appearing over here. That cross basically marks the intersection of these two lines. The next is extension. Suppose I want to make an extension of this line. It's a bit tricky. I just click on the endpoint and you see I can't, sort of make an extension over here. But if I just hover over this line and then I'm, extend my line over here, I can make an extension of this line. It's written extension 676/212 degrees. So that's what it is. That's the extension, people. The next is perpendicular. Say I want to make a line perpendicular to this line. What I'm simply gonna have to do is I'm just gonna hover my mouse over this line and then I'm gonna just make a perpendicular line from this. So it's snapping itself to make a perpendicular line. Say I want to make a perpendicular line on another line. See, I make this line and over here I want to make a perpendicular. I want to draw a line from here which is perpendicular to this particular line. For that I'm just going to enter line and I'm just going to hover my mouse over here. Over here it's specifying, saying perpendicular 122 degrees. So that means that this particular angle over here is 90 degrees. Let me just delete these lines. The next is parallel. See, I make this line and I want to make another line parallel to this line. I'm just going to type in L over here and I'm just going to hover over this line and try to make a line parallel to this. I don't think the parallel command is activated, that's why it's not showing the line. I'll just click on this arrow and I'll activate the parallel, check the parallel command. Now if I try to make a line, hover over this line and make a parallel line. So that's how you make parallel lines, and that's what object snap is. So I recommend you only to put on the options that you're actually going to use. I don't use the parallel line very much, so I'm just going to uncheck this. Only select the options that you're actually going to use, otherwise you're going to have a lot of points and a lot of green segments in your drawing, which is actually going to stop you from making accurate drawings. So only check those boxes, those modes which you actually need and you actually use. I'm just going to press on OK in this. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for the next videos.